Thus have I heard. At one time the Buddha was staying on Vulture Peak in Rajagraha together with a great multitude of 1,250 bhikshus. There were also 32,000 bodhisattvas led by the Dharma prince Manjushri. At that time, in the great city of Rajagraha, there was a prince named Ajātaśatru. Following the counsel of his wicked friend Devadatta, he seized his father, King Bimbisāra, and confined him in a chamber with walls 7 layers deep, forbidding all court officials from entering. The queen, Vaidehī, was loyal to the king. Having cleansed herself by bathing, she spread a paste of ghee and honey mixed with flour on her body, filled her ornaments with the juice of grapes, and secretly offered them to the king. The king ate the flour paste, drank the juice, and then asked for water to rinse his mouth. Having rinsed his mouth, he respectfully put his palms together, and facing Vulture Peak, he worshipped the world-honored one from afar and said,
Mahāsthamaprāpta is my close friend. I beseech you, feel compassion towards me and send him here to initiate me in the 8 precepts.
Then Mahāsthamaprāpta flew as swift as a hawk or falcon to the king. Day after day in this manner, Mahāsthamaprāpta initiated the king in the 8 precepts. The world-honored one also sent the venerable Purna to expound the Dharma to the king. 3 weeks passed in this manner, and because the king was able to eat the flour paste and hear the Dharma, his countenance was peaceful and content. Then Ajātaśatru questioned the guard.
Is my father still alive?
The guard replied,
Your Majesty, the queen spreads flour paste on her body, fills her ornaments with juice, and offers them to the king. The monks Mahāsthamaprāpta and Purna come here through the air to expound the Dharma to him. It is impossible to stop them.
Upon hearing these words, Ajātaśatru became infuriated at his mother and shouted,
Mother, you are my enemy because you are an accomplice to my enemy. Those unwholesome monks with their delusive magic have enabled that wicked king to remain alive for these many days.
Immediately he drew his sharp sword, intending to kill her. At that moment, a wise and intelligent minister named Chandraprabha, along with Javaka, bowed to the prince and said,
Your Majesty, we ministers have heard, as taught in the Vedic scriptures, that since the beginning of the cosmic period, there have been 18,000 wicked kings who have murdered their fathers out of lust to usurp the throne. Yet, never have we heard of anyone who has committed the outrage of killing his mother. Your Majesty, if you should dare commit such an outrageous act, you would bring disgrace upon the Kshatriya caste. As your ministers, we could not bear to hear of it, for it would be an act of a Chandala, and we could no longer remain here.
Then the 2 ministers, after stating these words, grasped their swords and stepped back. Ajātaśatru, startled and frightened, called out to Javaka,
Are you not my friend?
Javaka replied,
Your Majesty, please restrain yourself and do not kill your mother.
Having heard these words, the king repented and begged for their mercy. So he discarded his sword and gave up his intention of killing his mother. Instead, he ordered the guards of the inner court to lock her up within the depths of the palace and not allow her to come out again. Then Vaidehī, having been confined, became emaciated with grief and despair. Facing Vulture Peak from afar, she bowed to the Buddha and uttered the following words.
Tathagata, world-honored one, in the past you used to send Ananda to come and console me. I am now filled with anguish. World-honored one, you are majestic and exalted, and so in no way shall I be able to see you. I beseech you, send Mahāsthamaprāpta and the Venerable Ananda to come to see me.
When she had said these words, she wept in grief, shedding tears like a shower of rain. Then she bowed towards the Buddha in the distance. Even before she raised her head, the world-honored one who was staying on Vulture Peak, having known the thoughts in Vaidehī's mind, immediately ordered Mahāsthamaprāpta and Ananda to go to her through the air. The Buddha himself disappeared from Vulture Peak and appeared in the royal palace. When Vaidehī raised her head after bowing, she saw before her Śākyamuni Buddha, the world-honored one whose body was the color of purple gold, sitting upon a lotus flower made up of 100 kinds of jewels. Attending him on his left was Mahāsthamaprāpta and on his right was Ananda. Chakra, Brahma, and the guardian devas of the world hovered in the air, scattering everywhere celestial flowers like rain as an offering. When Vaidehī saw the Buddha, the world-honored one, she tore off her ornaments, prostrated herself on the ground, and cried bitterly before the Buddha.
World-honored one, what unwholesome deeds did I commit in the past that I should have such a wicked son? Also, world-honored one, what karmic relations could have caused you to become a relative of Devadatta? I beseech you, world-honored one, please explain to me in detail a place that is free of sorrows and afflictions. I wish to be born there. I do not wish to live in this defiled world of Jambudvipa filled with beings in hell, hungry spirits, and animals, and where there are many vile beings. I wish that, henceforth, I may hear no unwholesome words and may see no unwholesome people. Now, world-honored one, I prostrate before you and beg you in repentance to take pity on me. For what I truly desire, son-like Buddha, is that you teach me how to visualize a place perfected by pure and undefiled acts.
At that moment, the world-honored one sent forth a light from between his eyebrows. It was the color of gold and illuminated all the innumerable worlds of the 10 quarters. Upon its return, the light settled on top of the Buddha's head and transformed itself into a golden platform resembling Mount Sumeru. Therein appeared the pure and exquisite lands of the Buddhas of the 10 quarters. Some of the lands were made of 7 kinds of jewels, some solely of lotus flowers, some resembled the palace in the heaven of free enjoyment, and some were like a crystal mirror in which all the lands of the 10 quarters were reflected. Innumerable Buddha lands such as these, glorious and magnificent, were made visible and seen by Vaidehī. Then Vaidehī said to the Buddha,
World-honored one, these various Buddha lands are pure and free of defilement, and all of them are radiant. I, however, wish to be born in the world of perfect bliss of Amida Buddha. I beseech you, world-honored one, teach me how to concentrate my thoughts and teach me how to attain right perception.
At that moment, the world-honored one smiled, and from the Buddha's mouth emanated 5 colored rays of light, each ray shining on Bimbisāra's head. Although the great king was in confinement, with his unhindered mind's eye he could see the world-honored one in the distance. As he touched his forehead to the ground in homage, he spontaneously made progress and reached the stage of non-returner. Then the world-honored one said to Vaidehī,
Do you know that Amida Buddha is not very far from here? You should concentrate your thoughts and clearly visualize the one in that land who has already accomplished the pure acts. I shall now describe to you in detail various images of that land so that all ordinary people in the future who desire to perform the pure acts may attain birth in the land of perfect bliss in the western quarter. Whoever wishes to be born there should carry out the 3 types of meritorious conduct. First, they should dutifully attend to their parents, revere their teachers and elders, possess a heart of compassion and refrain from killing, and perform the 10 good deeds. Second, they should uphold the 3 refuges, observe the various precepts for monks or nuns, and not violate the rules of deportment. Third, they should arouse the aspiration for awakening, believe deeply in the law of cause and effect, recite the Mahāyāna Sutras, and encourage others to follow the teachings. These 3 are called the pure acts.
The Buddha said to Vaidehī,
Do you know that these 3 types of conducts are nothing other than the pure acts performed by all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future as the true cause for awakening?
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Listen closely, listen closely. Consider this very carefully. I, the Tathagata, shall now explain to you in detail the pure acts for the sake of all beings in the future who will be afflicted by the enemy, blind passions. Very good, Vaidehī. You have done well to ask me this appropriate question. Ananda, you must receive and uphold the Buddha's words and widely proclaim them to the multitude of beings. I, the Tathagata, shall now teach Vaidehī and the beings in the future how to visualize the world of perfect bliss in the western quarter. By the power of the Buddha, all will be able to see the land of purity as if one were looking at one's own face in a clear mirror. Seeing the utmost magnificence and bliss of that land, all will rejoice and immediately attain the insight into the non-origination of all dharmas.
The Buddha said to Vaidehī,
You are merely an ordinary person. Since your mind is weak and inferior and you have yet to acquire divine sight, you are unable to see that which is distant. But all the Buddha Tathagatas have distinct means by which you are enabled to see far.
Then Vaidehī said to the Buddha,
World-honored one, through the power of the Buddha, even a person like me is now able to see that land. However, after the Buddha's passing, all people, being defiled and unwholesome, will be tormented by the 5 kinds of suffering. How then will they be able to see Amida Buddha's world of perfect bliss?
The Buddha said to Vaidehī,
You and other people should single-mindedly concentrate your thoughts on one place and visualize the western quarter. How is this done? Visualize in this way, you and all people, with the exception of those born blind, possessing the faculty of sight, should look at the setting sun. Prepare your mind to concentrate and sit down properly, facing the westward direction. Clearly contemplate on the sun with your mind firmly fixed on it. Not allowing your mind to wander, concentrate your thoughts on the sun which is about to set and looks like a suspended drum. After seeing the sun, you should then be able to visualize it clearly, whether your eyes are open or closed. This is the visualization of the sun and is called the first contemplation. Next, you should practice the visualization of the water. Envision clean, pure water, picture it distinctly and clearly, and do not allow your thoughts to be distracted. After you have envisioned the waters, you should imagine them as becoming ice. When you have seen the brilliant and transparent ice, envision it turning into beryl. When you have accomplished this visualization, envision the beryl ground shining brilliantly throughout, inside and out. Supporting the beryl ground from below are columns, which are made of diamond and the 7 kinds of jewels and hung with golden banners. These columns have 8 sides and 8 corners, each side consisting of 100 kinds of jewels. Each jewel emits 1,000 rays of light, and each ray has 84,000 colors. As they are refracted onto the beryl ground, they look like 1,000 kodis of suns, and it is impossible to see them all. On the surface of the beryl ground, there is an intricate network of golden cords. The land is clearly divided into areas by the 7 kinds of jewels. Each jewel emits a flood of light in 500 colors. The light appears like a flower or resembles the moon and stars. Suspended in the sky, they turn into a pedestal of bright lights, on which there are 10 million pavilions made of 100 kinds of jewels. Both sides of the pedestal are adorned with 100 kodis of floral banners and innumerable musical instruments. As 8 pure breezes arise from the light and play the musical instruments, they proclaim the sounds of suffering, emptiness, impermanence, and no self. This is the visualization of the water and is called the second contemplation. When you have accomplished this visualization, contemplate on each object very clearly, one by one. Whether your eyes are open or closed, do not lose the images. Except when sleeping, you should always be mindful of these images. Visualizing them in this way is called the proximate vision of the ground of the world of perfect bliss. If you attain a state of samadhi, you will see the ground so clearly and distinctly that it is impossible to describe it all in detail. This is the visualization of the ground and is known as the third contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda,
Hold firmly to these words of the Buddha and expound this method of contemplating on the ground for the benefit of the multitude of beings in the future who desire to attain emancipation from suffering. If you have envisioned the ground, the unwholesome karma binding you to birth and death for 80 kodis of kalpas will be eliminated, and so when you take leave of this life, you will assuredly be born in the pure land in the next life. Do not have any doubt in your mind about this. To practice in this way is called the right contemplation. To practice otherwise is called the wrong contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
When you have accomplished the visualization of the ground, next contemplate on the jeweled trees. In contemplating on the jeweled trees, envision them one by one and then visualize 7 rows of these trees. Each tree is 8,000 yojanas high, and not a single jeweled tree lacks blossoms and leaves made of the 7 kinds of jewels. Each blossom and leaf has the color of a different jewel. The lapis lazuli-colored blossoms and leaves emit a golden radiance, the crystal-colored emit a crimson radiance, carnelian-colored emit a sapphire radiance, the sapphire-colored emit a green pearl radiance. Coral, amber, and all the other jewels serve as dazzling ornaments. Exquisite nets of pearls cover these trees, and each tree is veiled in 7 layers of nets. Between each net there are 500 kodis of palaces adorned with exquisite flowers. They are like the palace of King Brahma, where naturally there are celestial children. Each of these children has ornaments made of 500 kodis of chakras jewels, which light up 100 yojanas in all directions, like 100 kodis of suns and moons shining together, and so it is impossible to describe them in detail. All the lights emitted by these jewels intermingle, producing the most beautiful colors. The rows of jeweled trees are evenly arranged, and their leaves are equally spread. From among the foliage appear exquisite blossoms, and from them, fruits made of the 7 kinds of jewels appear spontaneously. Each leaf is 25 yojanas in length and width. Like the celestial ornaments, the leaves are of 1,000 colors and 100 different patterns. The many exquisite blossoms are the color of jambunata gold and sparkle like fire wheels revolving among the foliage. From these blossoms appear various fruits as if from Chakra's vase, and from the fruits issues forth magnificent light which transforms into banners and innumerable jeweled canopies. All the activities of the Buddhas throughout the 1,000 great thousand worlds appear reflected within these jeweled canopies. The Buddhalands of the 10 quarters also appear within them. After you have seen these trees, you should contemplate on each detail again, one by one, the trunks, branches, leaves, blossoms, and fruits. Picture them distinctly. This is the visualization of the trees and is known as the 4th contemplation. Next, you should visualize the water. There are pools of water possessing the 8 excellent qualities in the land of perfect bliss. Each pool is filled with water made of the 7 kinds of jewels which are soft and pliable. The waters, deriving their source from Śākyamuni, king of gems, divide into 14 streams. Each stream produces the color of the 7 kinds of jewels. The channels are of gold and the beds are covered with sand of multicolored diamonds. In each stream, there are 60 kodis of lotus flowers made of the 7 kinds of jewels. Each lotus flower is perfectly round and is 12 yojanas across. The waters from the mani meander among the flowers and flow back and forth amidst the trees, producing delicate and exquisite sounds, which proclaim the truths of suffering, emptiness, impermanence, no self, and the Pramithas. They also praise the physical features of all the Buddhas. The Śākyamuni, king of gems, emits a splendid golden light, which transforms itself into birds as colorful as 100 jewels. Their singing is harmonious and elegant, constantly praising the virtue of mindfulness of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. This is the visualization of the water of the 8 excellent qualities and is known as the 5th contemplation. Every region of that jeweled land has 500 kodis of jeweled pavilions in which there are innumerable devas playing celestial music. There are also musical instruments suspended in the sky, which, like those on the heavenly jeweled banners, emit sound spontaneously without being played. The various sounds proclaim the virtue of mindfulness of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Accomplishing this visualization in this way is called the proximate vision of the jeweled trees, jeweled ground, and jeweled pools in the world of perfect bliss. This is a composite contemplation and is known as the 6th contemplation. For those who are able to see this, the extremely heavy, unwholesome karma binding you to birth and death for innumerable kalpas will be eliminated, and after death, you will assuredly be born in that land. To practice in this way is called the right contemplation. To practice otherwise is called the wrong contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Listen closely, listen closely. Consider this very carefully. I, the Buddha, shall discern and explain for you the way to eliminate pain and affliction. You must uphold the Buddha's words, discern them, and widely proclaim them to the multitude of beings.
As these words were spoken, the Buddha of immeasurable life appeared, standing in the air, along with two Mahāsattvas, Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta, attending him on his left and right. Their radiance was so brilliant that it was impossible to see them in detail. It could not be compared even to 100,000 times the brilliance of Jambonata gold. Then Vaidehī, having seen the Buddha of immeasurable life, touched her head to Śākyamuni Buddha's feet in homage and said to him,
World-honored one, it is through your power that I have been able to see the Buddha of immeasurable life and the two Bodhisattvas. But, how can beings in the future see the Buddha of immeasurable life and the two Bodhisattvas?
The Buddha said to Vaidehī,
Those who wish to see that Buddha should form an image of a lotus flower on the seven-jeweled ground. Each petal of the lotus emanates the colors of 100 kinds of jewels, and has 84,000 veins. It is like a celestial painting, with each vein emitting 84,000 rays of light. Picture them all clearly and distinctly. The smaller petals are 250 yojanas in length and width. This lotus flower has 84,000 petals, and between the petals, there are 100 kodis of Shintamanus, king of gems, which serve as brilliant adornments. Each mani emits 1,000 rays of light which are like canopies made of the 7 kinds of jewels, and cover the entire surface of the ground. The throne of the lotus is made of chakras jewels, and is lavishly adorned with 80,000 diamonds, Kimsuka jewels, Brahmamani jewels, and exquisite pearl nets. On the throne there are naturally 4 columns with jeweled banners, and each jeweled banner appears as large as 100,000 million kodis of Mount Sumerus. Above these bannered columns are jeweled curtains like those in the palace of Yama heaven, which have 500 kodis of exquisite and wonderful jewels that serve as brilliant adornments. Each jewel emits 84,000 rays of light, and each ray of light glows with 84,000 different shades of gold. Each golden light suffuses this jeweled land and transforms itself everywhere into different forms, such as diamond thrones, nets of pearls, and clouds of various kinds of flowers. In all the 10 directions, it freely transforms itself, performing the activities of the Buddha. This is the visualization of the lotus throne and is known as the 7th contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda,
These wondrous flowers were produced originally by the power of Bhikshu Dharmakara's vow. Those who wish to contemplate on that Buddha should first perform this visualization of the lotus throne. When performing this, do not do it in a disorganized manner. Perceive each object one by one, each petal, each gem, each ray of light, each throne, and each banner. Picture each of them clearly, as if you were looking into a mirror at your own image. For those who accomplish this contemplation, the unwholesome karma binding you to birth and death for 50,000 kalpas will be eliminated, and you will most assuredly be born in the world of perfect bliss. To practice in this way is called the right contemplation. To practice otherwise is called the wrong contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
After you have seen this, next visualize the Buddha. Why? It is because every Buddha Tathagata, having the Dharma realm as their body, enters the minds of all beings. Therefore, when you visualize the Buddha in your mind, it is your mind itself that possesses the 32 major physical characteristics and the 80 minor marks of the Buddha's body. Thus, your mind produces the Buddha's image, and is itself the Buddha. The ocean of perfectly and universally awakened Buddhas arises from your visualizing mind. For this reason, you should single-heartedly concentrate and clearly contemplate on the Buddha, Tathagata, Arhat, and perfectly awakened one. When you wish to visualize the Buddha, you should first envision his image. Whether your eyes are open or closed, you should be able to see a jeweled image of him, which is the color of Jambonata gold, seated upon the lotus throne. Upon envisioning his seated image, your mind's eye will open and you will clearly and distinctly see 7 jeweled adornments of the world of perfect bliss, such as the jeweled ground, jeweled pools, and rows of jeweled trees. They are covered with heavenly jeweled curtains. You will also see jeweled nets completely filling the sky. Picture these things as clearly and distinctly as if you were looking at something in the palm of your hand. After you have seen these things, you should again visualize a large lotus flower on the Buddha's left. This lotus should be exactly the same as the one described earlier. You should further visualize another large lotus flower on the Buddha's right. Visualize an image of Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara seated on the left lotus throne. The image sends forth golden rays of light just like the Buddha image described earlier. Then visualize an image of Bodhisattva Mahāsthamaprāpta seated on the right lotus throne. When you have accomplished this visualization, you will see the images of the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas sending forth rays of light. The golden rays of light illuminate the jeweled trees. Under each tree, there are also 3 lotus flowers with images of the Buddha and the 2 Bodhisattvas seated on them. Thus, these images completely fill that land. When you have accomplished this visualization, you, the practitioner, will hear the flowing water, the rays of light, the jeweled trees, ducks, geese, and male and female mandarin ducks expounding the wonderful Dharma. Whether in or out of meditation, you will at all times hear the wonderful Dharma. Even after you are out of meditation, you should keep in mind and not forget what you have heard, then compare it with the sutras. If it is not in accord with the sutras, it is called an illusion. If it is in accord with the sutras, then it is known as the proximate visualization of the world of perfect bliss. This is the visualization of the Buddha's image and is known as the 8th contemplation. For those who accomplish this contemplation, the unwholesome karma binding you to birth and death for innumerable kodis of kalpas will be eliminated, and while in this life you will achieve the Buddha mindfulness samadhi.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
When you have accomplished this visualization, next contemplate on the physical features and the light of the Buddha of immeasurable life. Ananda, you should know that the Buddha's body is 1,000 million kodis times as brilliant as the Jambunada gold of Yama heaven and that his height is 600,000 kodis of nayutas of yojanas multiplied by the number of sands of the Ganges. The white tuft of hair curling to the right between his eyebrows is 5 times as big as Mount Sumeru. The Buddha's eyes are as large as the 4 great oceans, their blue and white parts are clearly distinct. All the pores of his body emit rays of light, as magnificent as Mount Sumeru. The Buddha's aureole is as broad as 100 kodis of the 1,000 great thousand worlds. Within this aureole there are transformed Buddhas as numerous as 1,000,000 kodis of nayutas multiplied by the number of sands of the Ganges. Each of these Buddhas is attended by a great assembly of countless transformed Bodhisattvas. The Buddha of immeasurable life possesses 84,000 major physical characteristics, each having 84,000 minor marks. Each mark again emits 84,000 rays of light. Each ray of light shines over the worlds of the 10 quarters, embracing and never abandoning those beings who are mindful of the Buddha. It is impossible to describe in detail these rays of light, the physical characteristics and marks, and the transformed Buddhas, but by performing concentration, you can see them clearly with your mind's eye. Those who envision them see all the Buddhas of the 10 quarters. Since you can see the Buddhas, this is called the Buddha mindfulness samadhi. According this contemplation is called perceiving the bodies of all the Buddhas. Since you perceive the Buddha's body, you also see the Buddha's mind. The Buddha's mind is great compassion. It is with this unconditional compassion that they embrace all beings. Those who achieve this contemplation will, after death, be born in the presence of the Buddhas and acquire the insight into the non-origination of all existence. For this reason, the wise should firmly fix their attention and concentrate on the Buddha of immeasurable life. In contemplating on the Buddha of immeasurable life, begin with one of the physical features, namely contemplate on the white tuft of hair between the eyebrows until you see it clearly and distinctly. When you can see it, 84,000 physical features will spontaneously appear. When you are able to see the Buddha of immeasurable life, you will also see the innumerable Buddhas of the 10 quarters. Having envisioned them, you will receive from these Buddhas appearing in front of you a prediction of your future attainment of Buddhahood. This is the comprehensive visualization of all the physical features of the Buddha and is known as the ninth contemplation. To practice in this way is called the right contemplation. To practice otherwise is called the wrong contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
After you have clearly and distinctly seen the Buddha of immeasurable life, next contemplate on Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara. This Bodhisattva's height is 800,000 kodis of nayutas of yojanas. His body is the color of purple gold. On the top of his, and within this heavenly crown stands a transformed Buddha, 25 yojanas tall. Head is a mound, and encircling behind it is an aureole with a diameter of 100,000 yojanas. Within this aureole, there are 500 transformed Buddhas. Each transformed Buddha resembles Śākyamuni Buddha and is accompanied by 500 transformed Bodhisattvas and innumerable devas. Within the light emanating from his entire body, all the beings of the 5 realms of samsara appear in their different physical forms. On his head is a heavenly crown made of chakras jewels. The face of Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara is the color of Jambanada gold. The tuft of hair between his eyebrows possesses all the colors of the 7 kinds of jewels and emits 84,000 different rays of light. Within each ray of light there are innumerable and uncountable hundreds of thousands of transformed Buddhas. Each transformed Buddha is attended by countless transformed Bodhisattvas. All manifest various forms at will, completely filling the worlds of the 10 quarters, and they appear as brilliant as the color of red lotus flowers. 80 kodis of rays of light make his ornaments, in which all the adornments of the land are fully shown. The palms of his hands are the color of 500 kodis of various lotus flowers. Each of his 10 fingertips has 84,000 patterns like those produced by engraved seals. Each pattern has 84,000 colors, and each color emits 84,000 rays of light. Those rays of light are soft and delicate, illuminating all beings. With his exquisite hands, he takes in and guides all beings. When he raises one of his feet, the mark of a 1,000-spoked wheel on the sole of his foot spontaneously changes into a throne made of 500 kodis of rays of light. When he lowers his foot, flowers made of diamond and mani jewels scatter everywhere, leaving nothing uncovered. All the other physical characteristics and marks which he fully possesses are not different from the Buddha's, with the exception of the 2 features, the mound on his head and its uppermost, imperceptible part, which are not equal to those of the world-honored one. This is the visualization of the true physical features of Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara and is known as the 10th contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda,
Those who desire to visualize Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara should perform this contemplation. Those who practice it will not encounter any misfortune, but will be cleansed of karmic hindrances, and the unwholesome karma binding you to birth and death for innumerable kalpas will be eliminated. Even by just hearing the name of this Bodhisattva, you will obtain immeasurable merits. How much more so if you clearly visualize him? Those who desire to visualize Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara should first contemplate on the mound on his head, and next, his heavenly crown. Then, you should contemplate on the other characteristics in order, as clearly as if you were looking at something in the palm of your hand. To practice in this way is called the right contemplation. To practice otherwise is called the wrong contemplation. Next, contemplate on Bodhisattva Mahāsthamaprāpta. The measurements of this Bodhisattva's body are the same as those of Avalokiteśvara. His aureole is 125 yojanas in diameter and shines as far as 250 yojanas. The light emanating from his entire body illuminates the lands of the 10 quarters, making them shine in the color of purple gold. All beings who have had even the slightest relationship with this Bodhisattva are able to see him. By seeing even a single ray of light emanating from a pore of this Bodhisattva, you can envision the pure and exquisite rays of light of the innumerable Buddhas of the 10 quarters. For this reason, this Bodhisattva is called boundless light. He has great power to illuminate all beings with the light of wisdom, enabling them to be free of the 3 unfortunate realms. For this reason, this Bodhisattva is called Mahāsthamaprāpta. This Bodhisattva's heavenly crown has 500 jeweled lotus flowers, and each flower has 500 jeweled thrones. Within each throne appear the expansive and boundless features of the pure and exquisite lands of the various Buddhas of the 10 quarters. The mount O his head is shaped like a lotus flower and has a treasure vase on it, which is filled with various rays of light that reveal all the activities of the Buddha. His other physical characteristics are exactly like those of Avalokiteśvara without even the slightest difference. When this Bodhisattva walks, all the worlds of the 10 quarters tremble and quake. Wherever the earth trembles, 500 kodis of jeweled flowers appear. Each flower's elegance is magnificent like those in the world of perfect bliss. When this Bodhisattva sits down, all the 7 jeweled lands, from that of the Buddha of golden light in the nadir to that of the Buddha of king of light in the zenith, tremble and shake simultaneously. From between these, manifested bodies of the Buddha of immeasurable life together with manifested bodies of Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta, as innumerable as particles of dust, all assemble like clouds in the land of perfect bliss. Filling the whole sky, they sit on lotus thrones, expounding the exquisite Dharma to save suffering beings. To practice in this way is called the right contemplation. To practice otherwise is called the wrong contemplation. To do this contemplation, envisioning Bodhisattva Mahāsthamaprāpta, is the visualization of his physical features and is known as the 11th contemplation. For those who are visualized this Bodhisattva, the unwholesome karma binding you to birth and death for innumerable asamkhya kalpas will be eliminated. Those who have accomplished this contemplation will be freed of birth from the womb and always able to visit the pure and exquisite Buddha lands. The accomplishment of these contemplations is called the complete visualization of Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta. When you have accomplished these contemplations, you should concentrate and form the following image. Having been born in the world of perfect bliss in the western quarter, you are seated in a lotus flower with your legs fully crossed. Next, imagine that the lotus flower closes and then opens. When the lotus flower opens, the light of 500 colors shines upon you. At that moment, your eyes are opened and perceive Buddhas and Bodhisattvas filling the entire sky. You hear the sounds of water, songs of birds, rustling of trees, and voices of Buddhas all proclaiming the wondrous Dharma in accord with the 12 divisions of scriptures. When you come out of contemplation, keep all of this in mind and do not forget it. When this contemplation is finished, it is called the visualization of the world of perfect bliss of the Buddha of immeasurable life. This is the total visualization, which is called the 12th contemplation. The transformed bodies of the Buddha of immeasurable life are innumerable. They, together with Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta, always come to the practitioners.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Those who sincerely wish to be born in that western land should first visualize an image of the Buddha, which is 16 feet high, on the surface of a pool. As described before, the physical measurements of the Buddha of immeasurable life are boundless, and therefore beyond the imaginative capability of ordinary people. However, through the power of the Tathagata's primal vow, those who contemplate on the Buddha are unfailingly enabled to do so. Simply by visualizing an image of the Buddha, they gain immeasurable merits. How much more so if they visualized the complete physical features of the Buddha? Amida Buddha, exercising supernatural powers at will, freely manifests his transformed bodies in the lands of the 10 quarters. At times he appears as a huge figure filling the whole sky, and at other times he appears as a small figure which is 16 feet or 8 feet high. All the figures he manifests are the color of genuine gold. The transformed Buddhas and jeweled lotus flowers within the aureole are as described above. The appearances of Bodhisattvas Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta are identical, wherever they may be. Sentient beings, only by looking at the features on their heads, can tell whether this is Avalokiteśvara or Mahāsthamaprāpta. These two Bodhisattvas assist Amida Buddha in leading all beings to the Buddhist way. This is the compound visualization and is known as the 13th contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Those who attain birth in the highest grade of the highest rank are as follows. Suppose there are sentient beings who wish to be born in that land, they attain birth by awakening the three minds. What are the three? The first is sincere mind, the second, deep mind, the third, mind aspiring for birth by directing one's merits. Those who possess these three minds will unfailingly be born in that land. There are also three kinds of sentient beings who will assuredly be born there. What are the three? They are, first, people who possess a heart of compassion, refrain from killing, and observe the precepts; second, people who recite the Mahāyāna sutras of greater scope; third, people who practice the 6 forms of mindfulness. They aspire for birth by directing merits thus acquired, performing these meritorious acts for 1 to 7 days, they will attain birth. When such person is about to be born in that land, because of his undaunted, diligent practices, Amida Tathagata comes to him with Avalokiteśvara, Mahāsthamaprāpta, countless transformed Buddhas, a great assembly of 100,000 monks and Sravakas, and innumerable devas, along with 7 jeweled palaces. Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara, holding a pedestal made of diamond, comes before the practitioner with Bodhisattva Mahāsthamaprāpta. Then Amida Tathagata sends forth great rays of light to illuminate the practitioner's body and offers his hands in welcome together with many other Bodhisattvas. Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta, with countless other Bodhisattvas, all praise and encourage the practitioner in his resolution. The practitioner, seeing all of this, leaps and dances out of joy, when he finds himself seated on the diamond pedestal, and following the Buddha, attains birth in that land as quickly as when one opens one's fingers. After being born in that land, he sees the Buddha's body complete with all the physical features, and also the Bodhisattva's bodies likewise. Hearing the brilliant jeweled trees expounding the wonderful Dharma, he immediately attains the insight into the non-origination of all dharmas. In an instant, he visits and serves all the Buddhas in all the worlds of the 10 quarters, from each of them, he receives the prediction of his future attainment of Buddhahood. When he returns to the Pure Land, he acquires innumerable hundreds of thousands of dharnis. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the highest grade of the highest rank. Those who attain birth in the middle grade of the highest rank are as follows. Suppose there are people who do not necessarily hold fast to and recite the Mahāyāna sutras of greater scope, but understand the meaning of the teaching very well, with no confusion in their mind on hearing the highest truth. Having firm belief in the law of cause and effect, they do not slander the Mahāyāna teachings. They aspire to be born in the land of perfect bliss by directing these merits. When a person who performs this practice is about to die, Amida Buddha comes to him surrounded by Avalokiteśvara, Mahāsthamaprāpta, countless sages, and their attendants with a purple gold pedestal. Praising the practitioner, the Buddha says,
Son of the Dharma, because you practice the Mahāyāna and understand the highest truth, I am now here to welcome you.
He and 1,000 transformed Buddhas offer their hands to the practitioner at the same time. Then the practitioner finds himself seated on a purple gold pedestal. At the moment he puts his palms together and praises the Buddhas, he is instantly born on a 7-jeweled pool on that land. The purple gold pedestal is like a great flower made of treasures, and it opens after one night. The practitioner's body shines in purple gold, and beneath his feet he again finds 7 jeweled lotus flowers. When the Buddha and Bodhisattvas simultaneously emit light and illuminate the practitioner's body, his eyes open and everything becomes clear. Due to the merits he accumulated in his previous life, he hears everywhere various kinds of sound all expounding the most profound, highest truth. Then descending the gold pedestal, he pays homage to the Buddha and praises him with his palms put together. After 7 days, he immediately reaches the stage of non-retrogression for the supreme, perfect awakening. When it is proper, he flies throughout the 10 quarters to serve all the Buddhas one after another, under whom he practices various samadhis. In a small kalpa, he attains the insight into the non-origination of all dharmas and directly receives the prediction of his future attainment of Buddhahood. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the middle grade of the highest rank. Those who attain birth in the lowest grade of the highest rank are as follows. Suppose there are people who at times believe in the law of cause and effect, do not slander the Mahayana teachings, and awaken aspiration for the supreme awakening. They aspire to be born in the land of perfect bliss by directing these merits. When the practitioner is about to die, Amida Buddha comes to welcome him together with Avalokiteśvara, Mahāsthamaprāpta and all of their attendants, with a golden lotus flower, accompanied by 500,000 Buddhas whom Amida manifests. The 500 transformed Buddhas offer their hands at the same time and praise him, saying,
Son of the Dharma, since you, with a purified mind, have awakened aspiration for the supreme awakening, we are now here to welcome you.
After seeing this, the practitioner finds himself seated on the golden lotus flower, which then closes. He then follows the world-honored one and immediately is born on the seven-jeweled pool. The lotus flower opens after a day and night, and he is able to see the Buddha in 7 days. Although he sees the Buddha, he cannot clearly distinguish the physical characteristics and marks. After 3 weeks he finally sees them distinctly. And he also hears various sounds expounding the wonderful Dharma. He travels throughout the 10 quarters to make offerings to all the Buddhas, and in their presence hears the profound teachings from them. In 3 small kalpas, he acquires perfect comprehension of the 100 teachings and dwells in the stage of joy. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the lowest grade of the highest rank. This is the visualization of those who attain birth in the highest rank, and is known as the 14th contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Those who attain birth in the highest grade of the middle rank are as follows. Suppose there are sentient beings who keep the 5 precepts, observe the 8 abstinences, practice in accordance with various precepts and refrain from committing the 5 grave offenses and other wrongdoings. They aspire to be born in the world of perfect bliss in the western quarter by directing these merits. When the practitioner is about to die, Amida Buddha comes to him surrounded by monks and attendants, emitting golden light. Expounding the truths of suffering, emptiness, impermanence, and no self, the Buddha praises renunciation of the world as the way for parting from various sufferings. Seeing this, the practitioner greatly rejoices, and then finds himself seated on a lotus pedestal. He kneels down and pays homage to the Buddha with his palms put together. Before he raises his head, he is instantly born in the world of perfect bliss, and soon the lotus flower opens. When the flower opens, he hears various sounds praising the 4 noble truths. Immediately he attains the awakening of an arhat, acquires the 3 kinds of wisdom and the 6 supernatural powers, and realizes the 8 samadhis for emancipation. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the highest grade of the middle rank. Those who attain birth in the middle grade of the middle rank are as follows. Suppose there are sentient beings who observe the 8 abstinences for a day and a night, observe the precepts for novices for a day and a night, or observe the precepts for monks or nuns for a day and a night, and do not violate the rules of deportment. They aspire to be born in the land of perfect bliss by directing these merits. When the practitioner, who is imbued with the fragrance of observing the precepts, is about to die, he sees Amida Buddha and his attendants coming to him, with a 7-jeweled lotus flower, emitting golden light. The practitioner hears a voice in the air praising him.
Good man, since you are virtuous and have followed the teachings of the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, I am now here to welcome you.
At that moment the practitioner finds himself seated on the lotus flower. Then the flower closes, and he is born on the jeweled pool of the world of perfect bliss in the western quarter. After 7 days, the flower opens. Then he opens his eyes and, with his palms put together, praises the world-honored one. Rejoicing at hearing the Dharma, he reaches the stage of a stream winner, and becomes an arhat after half a kalpa. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the middle grade of the middle rank. Those who attain birth in the lowest grade of the middle rank are as follows. Suppose there are good men or good women who dutifully attend to their parents and provide generous care for others. When such a person is about to die, he encounters a true teacher who widely expounds for him the pleasures of the land of Amida Buddha and also the 48 vows of Bhikshu Dharmakara. When he dies after having heard this, he is born in the world of perfect bliss in the western quarter as quickly as a strong young man bends and stretches his arm. 7 days after he is born there, he meets Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta and rejoices at hearing the Dharma from them. In a small kalpa he becomes an arhat. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the lowest grade of the middle rank. This is visualization of those who attain birth in the middle rank, and is known as the 15th contemplation.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Those who attain birth in the highest grade of the lowest rank are as follows. Suppose there are sentient beings who commit various unwholesome deeds. Although these foolish people do not slander the Mahayana sutras of greater scope, they feel no shame about committing many kinds of unwholesome deeds. When such a person is about to die, he encounters a true teacher who praises the titles of the 12 divisions of the Mahayana scriptures. Because he hears the titles of the sutras, he is freed of extremely heavy, unwholesome karma binding him for 1,000 kalpas. The wise teacher further advises him to put his palms together and say, Namo Amida Buddha. Because he recites the name of the Buddha, his unwholesome karma binding him to birth and death for 50 kodis of kalpas is eliminated. At that time the Buddha sends his transformed body and transformed Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta to the practitioner. They praise him, saying,
Good man, because you recited the name of the Buddha, all of your unwholesome karma has been extinguished, and so we are here to welcome you.
When these words are spoken, the practitioner sees the light of the transformed Buddha completely filling the room. Having seen this, he rejoices and dies. Then, riding a jeweled lotus flower, he follows the transformed Buddha and is born on the jeweled pool. After 7 weeks the flower opens, when Bodhisattva Avalokiteśvara of great compassion and Mahāsthamaprāpta, emitting a great light, appear before him and expound for him the extremely profound teaching of the 12 divisions of scriptures. Having heard this, he acquires a clear understanding and awakens aspiration for the supreme awakening. In 10 small kalpas, he acquired the perfect comprehension of the 100 teachings and dwells in the first stage. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the highest grade of the lowest rank. Further, one attains birth by hearing the names of the 3 treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Those who attain birth in the middle grade of the lowest rank are as follows. Suppose there are sentient beings who violate the 5 precepts, the 8 precepts, or the precepts for monks or nuns. Such a foolish person steals the property of the Sangha or pilfers possessions of monks and nuns. Preaching the Dharma for wrong purposes without any sense of shame, he defiles himself by committing many kinds of unwholesome deeds. Such a person of unwholesome karma, because of his unwholesome deeds, is destined to fall into hell. When he is about to die, the roaring flames of hell all at once rush upon him. At that moment, he encounters a true teacher who compassionately expounds for him the 10 majestic powers of Amida Buddha, extensively explains the transcendent powers of the light of that Buddha, and further praises the precepts, meditation, wisdom, emancipation, and the knowledge of emancipation which Amida has accomplished. When he has heard this, his unwholesome karma binding him to birth and death for 80 kodis of kalpas is eliminated. The fierce flames of hell turn into cool and refreshing breezes which scatter heavenly flowers. On each flower is a transformed Buddha with transformed Bodhisattvas to welcome him, and in a moment he attains birth within a lotus flower on the 7-jeweled pool. The flower opens after 6 kalpas, when Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta speak comforting words with their pure voice and expound for him the extremely profound Mahayana sutras. When he has heard the Dharma, he immediately awakens aspiration for the supreme awakening. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the middle grade of the lowest rank.
The Buddha said to Ananda and Vaidehī,
Those who attain birth in the lowest grade of the lowest rank are as follows. Suppose there are sentient beings who commit such unwholesome deeds as the 5 grave offenses and the 10 transgressions, thus burdened with all kinds of unwholesome deeds. Such a foolish person, because of his unwholesome deeds, is destined to fall into unfortunate realms, where he transmigrates for many kalpas and suffers agonies endlessly. When he is about to die, he may meet a true teacher who consoles him in various ways and, preaching the wondrous Dharma, advises him to be mindful of the Buddha. But he is too severely tormented by pain to do so. Then this good friend says to him,
If you cannot concentrate your thought on the Buddha, you should simply recite the name of the Buddha of immeasurable life.
Accordingly, he sincerely and continuously says, Namo Amida Buddha, 10 times. Because he recites the name of the Buddha, with each recitation his unwholesome karma binding him to birth and death for 80 kodis of kalpas is eliminated. When he dies, he sees a golden lotus flower appear before him shining like the sun. At that instant he is born in the world of perfect bliss. After staying in the lotus flower for 12 great kalpas, it opens and he hears Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta expound for him, in a voice of great compassion, the true reality of all existence and the teaching of eliminating unwholesome karma. When he has heard this, he rejoices and at once awakens aspiration for awakening. Such a person is called one who attains birth in the lowest grade of the lowest rank. This is visualization of those who attain birth in the lowest rank, and is known as the 16th contemplation.
When the Buddha delivered this teaching, Vaidehī, listening to it with her 500 female attendants, at once envisioned the boundless features of the world of perfect bliss. Seeing Amida Buddha and the 2 Bodhisattvas, she rejoiced in mind and marveled at this wonder she had never experienced. With her mind completely emancipated, she attained insight into the non-origination of all dharmas. Her 500 female attendants, too, awakened aspiration for the supreme, perfect awakening and wish to be born in that land. The world-honored one predicted that they would all be born in that land and would attain the all-Buddha presence samadhi. Innumerable devas also awakened aspiration for the supreme awakening. At that time, rising from his seat, Ananda stepped forward and said to the Buddha, World-honored one, what title should we give to this sutra and how should we retain the essence of the teaching? The Buddha said to Ananda,
This sutra should be entitled Sutra of Visualization of the Land of Perfect Bliss, Buddha of Immeasurable Life, Bodhisattvas Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta. It should also be entitled Purification and Elimination of Karmic Hindrances for the Attainment of Birth in the Presence of All Buddhas. Hold fast to this sutra as such and never forget it. Those who practice this samadhi will be able to see, in their present life, the Buddha of immeasurable life and the 2 Mahāsattvas. Those good men and good women who simply hear the names of the Buddha and the 2 Bodhisattvas will be freed of their unwholesome karma binding them to birth and death for innumerable kalpas. How much more so if they contemplate on them? Know that those who are mindful of the Buddha are like a white pundarika lotus flower among humans. Bodhisattvas Avalokiteśvara and Mahāsthamaprāpta will become their good friends. They will sit in the place of awakening and be born in the house of all Buddhas.
The Buddha said to Ananda,
Hold firmly to these words. To hold to these words is to hold to the name of the Buddha of immeasurable life.
When the Buddha had spoken these words, the Venerable Maṇḍala, the Venerable Ananda, Vaidehī and all the others greatly rejoiced at hearing the Buddha's teaching. Then the world-honored one returned to the vulture peak walking in the air. After that, when Ananda expounded to the whole assembly all that had happened, innumerable devas, nagas, yakshas, and others greatly rejoiced at hearing what the Buddha had taught, worshipped the Buddha, and departed.